I feel like World War games are making a bit of a comeback in 2017. Battlefield 1, of course, has headed into the First World War at the end of last year. Sniper Elite 4 is just around the corner, and there are plenty of games in progress that will be coming out this year too. There's even a lot of rumours that the new Call of Duty game in 2017 will be set during the Second World War. Another game that's due out for release soon is Battalion 1944. I've also come across another World War game, Days of War. I've played it for a little bit, and so far I think it's doing okay for an early access game at least, and thought I would bring you guys some first impressions. It's being made by an independent studio called Driven Arts, and on their Kickstarter page they say that they're so committed to the project that they've personally invested over $130,000 of their own money to get the game into a pre-alpha state. That's a lot of commitment and a lot of money. The studio itself has programmers and artists who have worked on games such as Dead Island, the Batman Arkham games and The Witcher. Days of War is a World War II shooter built on the already fantastic foundations of the Unreal 4 engine. Just as a side note though, the Unreal Engine is fantastic for developers because it's one of the best engines around, and with a crazy amount of built-in features on top like top level visuals, and even better, it's completely free. Any developer, or even an individual for that matter, can just go ahead right now and download the full engine that tons of AAA games are made on. If you earn a certain amount of money from your game, that's when you'll start to pay Epic, the developers of the engine, royalties, and that's why a lot of indie developers and early access games use Unreal Engine, because there is just way less upfront costs. Okay, enough about engines. What about the game, Days of War? Well, if you love games like Day of Defeat, then this will definitely be right up your alley. It's got a Day of Defeat vibe to it for sure. What's crazy is that the developers intend to try and create 100 player battles, which it has to be said is pretty optimistic. Right now these 100 player battles will be events, but if the current map design is anything to go by, I really don't think 100 player battles are going to be very fun in practical terms. This is not open world map design for sure. As with a lot of games right now, it's currently in Steam Early Access and also a Kickstarter campaign. It's around $25 to buy on Steam. Now when you play this game, it's almost impossible for me not to compare the game with Day of Defeat. Of course, it's much more newer than that and on much newer tech, but the feel of it is very similar, and of course you'll be playing in similar locations as well. You can expect maps covering Omaha Beach and the Carentan, but currently there are only 2 factions available, Germany and America, although more will be added down the line. So in terms of classes, the game is split into 9 different roles: Marksman, Sniper, Assault, Support, Rifleman, Shotgun, Specialist, MG and Rocket. Marksman seemed to be very popular in my playtime, at least mainly due to the fact that it was a one shot, one kill. And although Assault has some cool weapons like the very well known German MP40 or the American Thompson, you really need to be prepared for the recoil. This is not a Call of Duty game for sure. There is heavy recoil when you fire the weapons, and you certainly cannot go full auto unless you want to be taking out the cheese on the moon. Or of course you can learn to control it. Sniper also very popular of course, because hey, it's a sniper rifle, but some of the roles have limits and Sniper is one of those. I'm not too sure about the whole one shot one kill thing on the Marksman class though. This is definitely a skill based game, and I get in real life a sniper would certainly deal with you quite easily in one shot, but I felt in terms of game design it just turned into an insta-gib and it wasn't very fun in that sense when I played it. And I think this was also down to the map design a little bit as well. The maps had set lanes and these were pretty well defined, but when playing on Carentan for example, I found that every single time I played it, let's say around 4 to 6 times, that I found myself in the same spot in the middle of the map, unable to get down the left or the right because the choke points were just too severe. In fact, every game just played out the same. Run from spawn, take the middle, fight over the middle, never really progress, respawn in, rinse and repeat. That's at least what I experienced when I was playing it. I feel like the map design needs a lot of work there. This is meant to be a modern take on a World War shooter, and yet somehow it still felt like a mod from many years ago. Omaha Beach was also a quite tricky one. The German forces can lock down the American soldiers hitting the beach, and it was just so easy to pick enemies off and insanely difficult to get up the hill as the Americans. Of course Omaha Beach is iconic, but this is a video game after all, and it should be based and balanced around fun rather than realism. And I would definitely hope to see some better map design, more flags available, and better balance in the final maps. Remembering of course that this currently is in early access alpha, and as such it's still very much work in progress. We've got to take that into account and not be too critical of things that can easily be changed and worked upon. And apparently on launch there's going to be 8 maps available. Days of War will also have support for modding and custom player content, and includes a custom map editor to allow communities to create their own content. This game is definitely in an early state right now. HUD elements and other aspects are still being worked on, and while it feels a lot like Day of Defeat, I don't necessarily right now see any ways in which it massively improves upon it. I said this earlier, but it does have a mod feel about it. Maybe that's because it's currently an early build and hasn't had time to fully develop yet, but even though it was running on Unreal Engine, I thought the visuals were pretty average. Player models look good, but the environments not so much. I think they could do with some work there. Another World War II game that's coming out is Battalion 1944, and that's currently being developed as well. And it's hard to compare these games right now because we've seen limited footage of Battalion, but from what we have seen, that game seems to be making better use of the Unreal Engine. That being said, it remains to see how good the gameplay is, but I will definitely be keeping an eye out for that, and it's sure that these two games are looking like they're in direct competition with each other. Days of War, I think it's got potential, but until the maps have seen a tweak and the class balance have been worked on a bit, I'm not sure how much I'm going to play it. I can only take so much of Karantan playing out the exact same way every time. So there we have it guys, that's my early impressions and gameplay from Days of War. The developers of this game contacted me and sent me a code and said, would you like to check it out? So I thought, you know what, let's give it a shot. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below guys. I'm going to leave you with some more gameplay footage. As always, thank you so much for watching. Leave a rating if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.